Hello, everybody. My name is Rahul, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to talk about a very kind of famous issue which a lot of people face, a lot of people struggle with. It's this procrastination. Whether you are in college, whether you're in school, whether you have a business, whether you work in a job or something, we have all faced this issue. And usually, what happens is procrastination is very misunderstood. Whenever we start to face procrastination, whenever we feel that we are going to procrastinate, we start to force ourselves. We start to use willpower. We start to use our mental energy to force ourselves into working on what we need to be working right now. Well, that's a good short term strategy. If you really want to force yourself, you can force yourself right now, but it is not going to work in the long run. In the long run, what's going to happen is if you keep forcing yourself over and over again, in a couple of days or in a couple of weeks maximum, you're going to be completely exhausted. Understand that your body is not like a machine. If you keep doing things that don't give you any rewards, don't give you any pleasure, don't give you any progress in the real world, you're not really going to enjoy doing it. And eventually what will happen is if you do that, it's going to hurt you a little bit more. So one of the keys in understanding procrastination is understanding dopamine and how dopamine works and how dopamine functions. So usually when our brain feels that the goal or the task that we are doing or we are engaged in right now is not worthwhile, or when we don't find any meaning in what we're doing, then we end up procrastinating. For example, you might have a project coming up and you might have to make a presentation, and you're thinking this to yourself like, oh my god, this is the same thing I have to do again that I did last month. It's not that complicated. I can simply copy paste it from my previous project or my previous presentation, and it's not going to take a lot of time. Also, since these kind of tasks, these kind of activities, they don't really give you much reward, and according to your brain, they don't really fit anywhere in your big picture of things. Your brain thinks that, what, this is not really important, we can do it later. Right now, let's focus on other things. Why does this happen? Because it's actually a very helpful and smart adaptation that we human beings have, that our brain can automatically deprioritize or devalue things sometimes, right? Which is important for our survival, because if we cannot change our values, then what will happen in a constantly changing world, we are going to be stuck somewhere and we won't be able to really understand what to do and what not to do. For example, let's say let's say you are living in a jungle and you are looking for food, and all of a sudden you hear some noise in the bushes, or all of a sudden you hear a loud roar, right? You have to deprioritize your search for food and prioritize the desire to live tomorrow, because you can stay hungry for a day or something, or you can stay hungry for an hour or two, or let's say you can go ahead and hunt or look for food in other areas. But if you don't prioritize the fact that there can be other animal around you, then you might be very very dead, which is not a very good thing, right? So it's a very smart adaptation. This is something that our brain does very smartly. It is not a bug, it is not a fault, it's actually a feature. So we have to learn how our brain works so that we can use these things for us instead of these things working against us. So let's understand dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is responsible for reward, motivation, behavior, pleasure, and reinforcement. On the internet, dopamine has gotten almost a bad rep. When you search about dopamine, you're usually going to find associations where you're going to see dopamine is related to porn, it's related to junk food, it's related to all kinds of bad things. So whenever you hear dopamine, you're going to kind of get a sense that dopamine is something bad, and we have to kind of minimize dopamine usage, or we have to somehow stay away from using dopamine in our day-to-day life. But that's not true. Dopamine is a essential neurotransmitter. That's one of the building blocks of how our brain works. It affects our memory. For example, if you have a very high amount of dopamine in your brain, if your brain produces a healthy amount of dopamine, then your short-term memory is going to be, or your working memory is going to be higher. Thus, your IQ is also going to be higher. So you are going to perform better in complex tasks than other people who have a deficiency of dopamine. For example, people who are going through ADHD, right? People who have attention deficit hyper disorder. Their brain cannot focus on something because their brain does not produce enough dopamine. Okay, they can look at the screen, you can physically make them look at something, but it doesn't mean that they're actually paying attention, because paying attention and engaging in an activity is an active task. It's not something just like, for example, you can be paying attention to the screen and to what I'm saying, but your mind can be thinking about, you know what, tomorrow, what do I have to do, tonight I'm going to watch this movie, I have to watch Netflix and whatnot. Your mind can be involved in all those things, and even though you are listening to what I'm saying and you're looking on the screen, you might not be able to understand, or you might not be able to retain anything that I have said or I'm explaining. So it affects our memory. A lot of people, when you become a little bit older and your brain stops producing that much dopamine, or your dopamine neurotransmitters are affected, then you can have a lot of other issues, for example, Alzheimer's, dementia, etc. So these are very, very serious terminal issues that happen because a serious lack of dopamine. Dopamine affects your mood. For example, if you are low on dopamine, you are going to be more negative, you're going to be more cynical, you're going to be, people who are depressed have a lower amount of dopamine. So it doesn't matter how many times you tell them that, hey bro, be motivated, be positive, they simply cannot be, because uh, their brain is not producing enough dopamine or endorphins so that they can look at the world in a positive way. It's the same thing as, for example, if you go to a colorblind person and be like, hey bro, just see, man, what is wrong with you, just see, you can simply see colors, why are you doing all this drama? He cannot understand this. Or if you go to a deaf person, he's like, bro, just vibe to the music. He cannot understand that because he has no concept of what music is, he has no concept of what rhythm is, or a blind person has no concept of colors. So in the same way, when your brain is not producing dopamine properly, or when your brain is uh, like kind of when there is a deficiency of dopamine in your brain, then your mood is bad, and usually your confidence is bad, and your retention is bad, and your motivation is bad, everything is bad. It affects your sleep. If you have low dopamine activity, then if you have low dopamine in your brain, then you can suffer from things like sleep deprivation, or in extreme cases you can also suffer from things like insomnia. It affects your attention, like in the case of ADHD, we have already talked about focus. In the same way that it affects attention, it affects our focus too, and it also affects our control. So let me give you a simple example of how dopamine works. Let's say you see you are let's say it's you're 2 a.m. in the night, and you are very, very thirsty, and the weather is a little bit hot, and you are not able to sleep. So the first thing a lot of people do is we go and drink some water, because usually the inability to sleep is related to the body temperature and bad thermal regulation, or a lack of dopamine. So you can go and you can be like, okay, you know what, let me drink some cold water, and then I'm going to be satisfied, and my thirst is going to be quenched, and I'll be able to fall back to sleep. Amazing. So this is your plan. Now what happens is, when you think about water, your brain produces dopamine, and this dopamine makes you get out of the bed, and then walk to the fridge. And then when you open the fridge, when you see the water in front of you, when you see cold tasty water in front of you, then your brain again produces dopamine. And then when you completely drink the water, you get another dopamine hit, and hence the task is closed. Now you can go back to sleep, and now dopamine also goes away from your brain. Amazing. Now what happens if you're thirsty, and if you want to drink water but there is no dopamine? In this case, you will not be able to get out of the bed, you will not be able to go to the kitchen and drink water. You will have to force yourself, or somebody else will have to force you, somebody else will have to take you there, so that you can drink water. So dopamine directly translates into action. So if you have healthy dopamine systems in your brain, you are going to you know you are going to be in a much better place. And a lack of dopamine is no action. Okay, so this little substance, this little compound, is one of at the root causes of procrastination. A lack of dopamine, a lack of reward, causes us to just procrastinate and leave a task for a very long time. So what can you do in order to tackle this? What can you do in order to make this better? First things, You can focus on habit formation. We usually procrastinate with tasks that are very long term. For example, going to the gym, meditating, reading a book, starting a new project, all of these things, right? Working our social skills, working on our mental health, all these things cannot be done in a day or two. Learning a new skill, for example, if you want to learn a new skill, or if you want to learn a new musical instrument, you can end up procrastinating because these things cannot be done in 2 or 3 days, right? You might have seen in the movie Matrix how there are programs for different skills, and Neo just installs those programs in his head. That's amazing. Like, I wish we had the technology, but we do not have the technology right now. So habit formation, especially with important tasks, is very difficult because there is no gratification. Forget about short term or medium term gratification. When you do these things, you might not see a satisfactory level of improvement for a very long time. For example, when you start meditating, it might take you 3 to 6 months to see some kind of visible progress in your mental health, right? You will not be able to feel the effect of meditation immediately. Like, actually, what will happen if you start to, let's say, like, you want to start meditating. So if you start to sit down every day for 15-20 minutes, and if you start to meditate, instead of getting a reward, you're going to feel frustrated, and you're going to feel kind of like a loser, because your brain is going to jump here and there, and you're going to be like, you know what, this meditation shit is just simply not for me. I cannot do it. This is not going to work in my favor. So this can happen, and if you do it for again and again and again and again, every day is going to be the same thing. It will take at least 100 hours for you to it will take you at least 100 hours for you to be good at some activity, for you to be at an average level of some activity. And do you understand how long 100 hours is? Let's say you meditate for 20 minutes on a daily basis. So in 3 days you're going to have 1 hour. 3 days you're going to have 1 hour. In 30 days you're going to have 10 hours. In 300 days you're going to have 100 hours. So you will have to, in order to complete your 100 hours of meditation, you'll have to meditate almost for an entire year straight up, without like without slacking off or without messing up the schedule. And then you are going to finally be able to completely control your mind. Now when you think about this, it sounds like a very big commitment. You're like, oh my god, 1 year, 300 days. Or what you can do is you can meditate 1 hour for 100 days straight. But again, meditating 1 hour, which is a long commitment, especially if you are studying, or especially if you have a business, if you are a professional, then taking out 1 hour time consistently on a daily basis can be a very difficult task, right? So what can you do to build these kind of habits? You can break these habits down on a small format. You can break these habits down, let's on a 15-20 minutes manageable time, so that it's not too hard. The harder you make an activity for yourself, the more you're going to procrastinate. So the first thing, you have to make the habit easy. You have to make the habit easy, and then you have to kind of force yourself to do the habit for at least 22 to 30 days. People usually it's usually understood that a habit takes 30 days to form properly. So you have to kind of, there is no way around it. I cannot give you any easier answer than this. You will have to force yourself for 30 days to do one thing. For example, if you want to meditate, you'll have to force yourself for the next 30 days to meditate. Or if you want to start reading books more, you'll have to force yourself to read at least a book for the next 30 days. If you want to start working out, if you want to start waking up early and going jogging, or just doing yoga or meditating, whatever you want to do, you'll have to do it consistently for 30 days, at least 22 to 30 days. Then it's going to start becoming a habit. So one mistake that you might make in this area, when you're trying to do this, is you might you might make a mistake of doing a lot of things at once. So this is usually something which I would strongly recommend you avoid. If you're trying to do a lot of things at once, for example, if you're trying to build 3 new habits at once, you are almost always going to fail. You will not be able to have that kind of mental energy or mental power or willpower to force yourself through so many different things. So forget about that. Do not try to, at least for 1 month or 2 months, focus on doing only one thing. When one habit is formed, then move on to the next thing. Do not try to build two or three habits at the same time, especially if they are very very different than each other. Do not try to do that at the same time. So one thing to beat procrastination in the medium to long run, this does not work in the short term, but this will work in medium to long run, is make it a habit. Make it, whatever you're trying to procrastinate, make it a habit, right? This can be achieved if you are mindful of it. Second thing, whatever habit you are making or whatever task that you're trying to do, make it fun. This is another way to avoid procrastination. For example, if you want to go to the gym, or if you want to do meditation, or if you want to work on your social skills, if you want to start reading more books, or if you want to start your own content channel, or if you want to start your own business, you'll have to follow some kind of habits, you'll have to follow some kind of systems. The best thing you can do is make that habit, or make whatever you're trying to uh, do fun and enjoyable. So leverage the fact that your brain likes instant gratification. Instead of running away from instant gratification, learn to use it. Learn how can you use instant gratification in your day-to-day activity, right? So for example, have short-term goals. Instead of having a goal that is 3 months away, have a goal that is 7 days away, right? Have a goal every 7 days, and every 7 days sit down and see how have you done, what are you doing, what is the progress like. So make short term goals. Okay, make goals, break down your goals into manageable pieces, but don't make the goals so easy and so short that winning the goal or actually achieving the goal doesn't give you any reward. For example, if you are trying to if you're trying to go to the gym regularly, don't just give yourself a goal that you went to the gym 4 days, 5 days in a week. That's a win. Have a little bit more difficult goals, right? The goals that are very easy will again lead into boredom and monotony and procrastination later on in life. So, and goals that are very difficult to achieve in the short run, the medium term, are also going to lead to procrastination and kind of anxiety and just avoid task avoidance. So, what you can do is you can set up a goal that is uh, not very hard and not very easy, but that is challenging enough so that it makes things easier, it makes things fun. Okay. Other thing that you can do is you can leverage mindfulness. People who practice mindfulness or meditation or some kind of isolation or mental exercise usually have a healthy level of dopamine, and they can usually do impulse control at a much better scale than normal people. So they can make themselves do something, and their mind is most probably going to agree to the fact that, hey, yes, this needs to be done, so let's do it. Their mind is not going to run away that much. Okay, but it doesn't mean that they have full control of your mind. Nobody can ever have full control over their minds. Make the task more attractive. For example, let's take an example of you going to the gym. If you want to go to the gym, make the task a little bit more attractive. For example, make some friends in the gym, so that now you have another reason to go to the gym, so that you can have some fun, you can chit chat, and you can gossip with your friends, right? Or make sure that the gym that you're going to have plays nice music, or you can tell the gym person, like, hey, I have made a playlist for you, see if you like it, right? Because all these things are going to add on to your motivation. Okay. So the same thing, like if you are trying to for example, if you're trying to get into meditation, if you're trying to get into spirituality, or if you're trying to get into reading books, what you can do is you can join communities, and you can go and meet these kind of people in real life, so that you're actually surrounded by people who are doing all these activities on a day-to-day basis. And every once in a month, or every once in a week, you can go and you can talk to them, you can go and you can meet them, you can hear from them, you can make friends. So making something social also increases the likelihood that you are going to do that. Making something easy. So for example, if your gym is a little bit far away, or if you, for example, if you want to meditate but you have a very difficult ritual to meditate, right? For example, if you want to light some candles, if you want to play some music, if you want to lay down a yoga mat and then properly sit down, and like you want to burn some candles or incenses and then start meditating, then there are so many things that when you start to meditate, you're going to be like, oh my god, I'll have to follow the entire procedure. So don't overcomplicate tasks. Make tasks easy. Remove the friction. Remove whatever you think is there that can try to make it a little bit difficult for you to do that. Or you can do habit stacking. For example, I habit stack, like for example, I habit stack my meditation right after shower. Okay, so I will not get any other time to meditate in my day if I don't do this. So what I do is, after I have come out from the shower, I simply dress up, and the first thing that I do is, without checking my phone, without checking my computer, without doing any other work, I sit down and meditate for 15 to 20 minutes. Once I am done meditating, then I sit down and write my goals and tasks. What do I have to do on a day-to-day basis? So if I am not taking a shower, then I'm not going to meditate that day. But it really rarely happens. It very rarely happens that I don't take a shower. I like taking cold showers, and well, I live in India, so it's pretty hot all the time here. So cold shower is the only option that you can take here. So cold showers. After shower, I have stacked the habit of meditation. Also in the gym, for example, when I complete my entire work, like at 7:30, I go to the gym, because I want to remove all the frustration and all the anger and all the kind of pent up thoughts and emotions that might be running into me. And so the gym, for me, I have made my gym not only a place for where I go to get fit, but also a place where I go to kind of express myself, well, relieve my anger and frustration and negative emotions and negative energy. I have made it a place to socialize. I have also go out there, and I have two or three friends, so I talk to them, right? So all these things, instead of having one reason to go to the gym, if I'm feeling very fatigued, and if I don't feel like going to the gym, I say to myself that, what, I'm going to meet my friends, and we're going to have a fun talk. So I'm not going to work out that hard today. Let's just go and meet those people. Or you know what, let's just go and kind of stretch and do some new form of exercises, do some new fun exercises. But what happens is, when I go to the gym and I start talking to my friends, and when I see everybody around me working out, then the motivation kicks in, and I start working out just as hard. So you can make something attractive like that. You can make something easy. You can stack habits, or you can make something social. Like I told you, if you want to read more books, join a book reading club or join a library, so that you can know other people who are also reading a lot of books. If you want to socialize, then make friends with some extroverts who go out to party on a like a weekly basis. So you can kind of go out with them, right? Another reason that you can overcome procrastination is by reminding yourself why. Why are you doing this activity? If you have to like file a presentation, and if you are procrastinating on it, why do you have to file a presentation? What will happen if you don't file it? So you remind yourself, like, if you file a presentation, then this can this can give you the next big project. If you get the next big project, you can eventually do something good on it, and you can get the next raise. Or if you're trying to get a meeting that you have been procrastinating for a long time, or if you have been trying to release a product, remind yourself, why are you doing this? Unless and until you test your product or your project in the market, you will never know whether this is a good or bad one. So remind yourself, why do you have to do this activity in the first place? Every activity is a part of a larger activity. For example, if I go out if I go out to socialize, or if I go out to the gym, all of these things are a part of larger activity. I'm not simply going to the gym to go to the gym. I'm going to the gym because it helps me be more energetic on a day-to-day basis. It helps me look good, feel strong. It helps me feel confident. It helps other people see me as a confident person. All of these things, and all of these things really help me. So there are a lot of other reasons why I go to the gym, right? The meaning why I go to the gym. Find a purpose. Why do you have to do this task? Why do you have to do this activity? Some other short-term things or solutions that you can use for uh, procrastination are things like use white noise. When I am working on something difficult, or when I am working on a task that requires a lot of mental focus, I use a white noise. Usually I like to hear, like, city park noises, or cafe ambience, something like this, where some kind of random activity or random noise is going behind my back. And another thing is coffee. So I'm not saying, asking you to get addicted to coffee. I'm just saying that you can drink coffee, as like in a small quantities. So instead of having two big cups of coffee in the morning and the evening, what you can do is you can have three or four small cups of coffee, right? So that you can get that hit, and you can get that caffeine boost whenever you need. Another thing is, like, have something sweet, have something fun, as a reward when you complete the task that you have been procrastinating. So all in all, procrastination is something which is not necessarily a bad thing. It is a kind of a strategy for our body and for our mind to conserve energy, and to conserve resources. And understand that our body is a very efficient. Our body is a very, very, very efficient machine, our body and mind, right? So it doesn't want to waste energy in useless things. But when something is useful, your body is never going to procrastinate. For example, your body is never going to procrastinate, for having sex, or going to a concert and dancing, or eating an amazing food. Your body is never going to procrastinate on these things, because for your body, uh, evolutionary speaking, these things have been very beneficial. These things have helped you survive. So understand that this is a coping mechanism. This is a strategy that our body uses to protect us. And instead of fighting it, and instead of forcing a way out of it, try to follow these things and see if it helps you. Now, I hope that you like the video. If you want to see more of these kind of videos, please subscribe, like, and also comment what are some kind of videos that you might want to see in the future. And I'll see you in the next